The views and opinions on the Craig L. Hayes Show do not necessarily reflect those of Westgate Resorts, ownership, or management. And now, on with the show.
Extra, extra, read all about it. Get your copies while they last. Stop the presses.
And now for something completely different.
Are you ready for a little truth? Are we not entertained? Wisdom is the proper use of knowledge and experience. There are no safe spaces here. The truth shall make you free. It's showtime! So you want the truth, but can you handle the truth? Well, here's another fine mess you've gotten us into. Now that's entertainment. Enlighten me a little. What you say is quite logical. And what did we learn? Prepare yourself for a little sensory overload. I came here for the truth. 47 years ago, stand by the roll show intro. Roll show intro in 3, 2, 1, go.
This is the Craig L. Hayes Show.
Hello, America, family, friends, and listeners all around this planet we call home. This is the Craig L. Hayes Show, and I am Craig L. Hayes. Today is the 2nd of June, 2025, and we're continuing on our episodes of what goes on behind the curtain in Las Vegas showrooms, behind the scenes, behind the curtain, whatever we want to call it. And today, I just want to thank real quick, get some thank yous out of the way here. I want to thank Cammie Christensen. She's the president of the hotel who's allowed me to do this podcast from Elvis Presley's dressing room. And also Dawn Rawl. She's the vice president of entertainment. I've had her seal of approval. And John Peer, he's the technical director for the hotel. And they've all given me the green light to let me keep doing this and do it from a very historical place. And I'm very honored and very happy to be here. And today's guest is going to be a friend of mine that I've known for about 37, 38 years, something like that, since 1988. And we worked at Riviera together. And he came over to what used to be the Las Vegas Hilton and became my head flyman during the Barry Manilow show. We'll talk about all that during the course of this interviews. But his name is Jerry Helmuth. Jerry, comrade, welcome.
Good morning, Craig. Craig, my old friend, thank you for having me here today. I was thinking about this and how many people I've come across in my long and storied career here, and how many friends I have and how many are just acquaintances, and I'm trying to figure out where you fit on that spectrum, but here.
Well, I'm just glad to be on the spectrum, so it doesn't matter.
You've been on the spectrum for a while.
Well, welcome. It's good to have you here. It's good to have a friend like Jerry. He's been around quite a while. If I remember, you came to town somewhere around 79.
Yeah, I came here at the beginning of 1979. Quite a while. It makes me feel like a sequoia or something. And it doesn't seem like that long ago, but really 1979 was a long time ago. And I came here, I followed my brother over. We both grew up in Fresno, California. He came over about 9 months ahead of me. And then I came over beginning of 79, signed up with the hall, and starved for about 9 months, and then got a show change call, 2 a.m. at the Riviera, and stayed there for 16 years, which right place, right time.
Yeah, amazing how a 4-hour call can turn into that long of a career, huh?
Oh man, that was a 2-hour minimum back then.
Yeah.
2-hour minimum, and I was happy to get it. And I just came in, didn't know what to expect. And it was a show change. It was a celebrity room, this little bitty stage, which I thought was just gorgeous when I saw it. It was old room.
The Versailles room. It was a
the
gorgeous
Versailles
room. Yeah.
And I went up and loaded arbor for Claire Chug, who was the FLYMEN there. Nicest man I ever worked with anywhere. And stayed up there for all night, all morning, and all day. And then they brought me down. And the stage manager, Bob Smith, at that time, he was the stage manager / head carpenter, asked me if I could do the show that night. And I said, yes, sir, I certainly can. And it was Tony Orlando and Pia Zadora opening for Tony Orlando. And they needed a couple extra guys on stage to roll Pia Zadora's band carts off stage after she did her opening act and make the stage ready for Tony. And that's what I did. And at the end of the second show, back then it was 2 shows, a dinner show and a cocktail show, 8 p.m. and midnight. And at the end of the show, he says, can you come back tomorrow? And I said, yes, sir. And I worked the run, which was, I think it was 2 weeks then. And then they just kept using me. And after about 6 or 7 months, he said to me one day, go down to HR and get your picture taken for an ID, because now you're hired. And that's how they did it back then.
Yep, just that quick.
Yeah. And I was happy as I could be to be on that stage. It was just everything I ever wanted in that career, to work on that stage.
Well, let's take you back a little bit and then catch back up into there. You said you're from Fresno. I remember that.
Yep.
Well, you're a college guy. I remember you had gone to college, because we've talked a few times about stuff. And did you get a degree out of Fresno, or was it?
I dropped out of college twice, actually.
Oh, good for you.
Once in Fresno. I dropped out of Fresno State. And then I dropped out of UNLV several years later. So no, I never graduated. I'm close. I'm like a junior.
Well, you're a college dropout. I'm a junior college dropout.
There you go.
I dropped out of Clark County Community College, as you called it, way back in the 80s.
Right.
I went for a whole month and said, bag this. I hate this stuff. I'm going back to showbiz. So,
well, I went to Fresno State right out of high school. And when I was in high school, I took a couple of theater classes, and I thought, well, this is fun. I like this. And I started working on shows at Fresno Community Theater, and it was wonderful for me. I was like, I found my tribe. This is where I'd like to be. So I went to Fresno State. I never declared a theater major. I was a journalism major back then, but I was taking theater classes, technical theater, anything I could sign up for, and was in the theater department a lot, wrote reviews of shows for the college paper, managed to not get beat up for that. And as it turns out, I just stopped going because my life took a different turn. I ended up with the woman I would later marry. We moved to Las Vegas because we were broke in Fresno, and my brother had come over. He graduated from Fresno State, and he came over to Las Vegas because there was someone in the theater department of Fresno State he graduated with, young lady named Veronica Mongeau, and her father worked at the Stardust. And when they graduated, she said to a few people there, she goes, "What are you doing in Fresno now? They're crying out for stagehands in Las Vegas." And so he came over here with another guy, Julian Williams, and they, within weeks had found themselves with jobs in showrooms. Again, right place, right time. We didn't know anybody, didn't have any juice. And I was starving in Fresno, and I thought, hell, I'm going to Las Vegas too. So I went over here, and my wife came over several months later, and our son came over. And I was struggling to find work just to make enough money to buy a bag of groceries back then, which we did, but we were young and in love, and didn't matter. Money didn't matter. That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I had a call here and a call there. I did a week at the Tropicana because somebody took a vacation, and I got to work the telethon, which was at the Sahara that year, and not much else.
Is that where you met my dad, Sahara? Or?
I don't remember meeting your dad
Because he was
at the
there.
Sahara then.
Yeah,
I don't. That was. I might have met him, but I don't remember. I remember meeting John later at the Riviera when he came in as the TD.
Because he was, at that time he was TD at the Sahara. So
Yeah, I remember Don Rux.
yeah.
I remember Jerry Neff.
All those guys.
And I probably would have met your dad, but I don't recall at that time. I was so happy to be on this 3-week job that I knew I was going to make enough money, for 3 weeks. Back then we were getting like $9 an hour. And I thought, whoa, $9 an hour. I never made that much money. And then after that, like I say, I got a show change call to the Riv. Boom. Right place, right time.
Took off.
Yay.
Riviera was it was just a fun place to work in the Versailles, showroom.
Somebody called it the Visalia room.
I said it had so many different names, because they didn't know it was a French thing, a Versailles, Versailles,
Yeah.
the Versailles.
But it was a celebrity room back then, and I got to do some great acts, and I learned a phenomenal amount from the guys who worked there. Like I say, Claire Chug was the flyman. Bob Smith was the head carp / stage manager. Bob Ramsey was head props. Joe Sabo was one of the carpenters. Chris Cook was the electrician. Ed McDonald was one of the electricians. And Mike Imming was there. Dale Dudley became the sound guy, but that was after Glenn Strong left. Bob McCullough was the assistant sound. Super nice guys, all of them. And I was 23 years old and had hair down to my ass. And they kept me around. And there was a couple of times when they should have kicked me out, but they didn't. And I was very grateful for that. I learned a lot. I learned how to treat people too. Some by example, some by learning how not to treat people. But
So you were there during the star policy of 79, 80, and then they brought in, what was that, solid gold?
yeah, brought in solid gold, and that was
83, 4,
yeah,
somewhere?
83, I think. It stayed for a year. And that was a production show with rotating celebrity headliners. So, Smothers Brothers, Joan Rivers, I forget. But when it was before Solid Gold came in, we did ask me who is the best act I ever worked. Go ahead, ask. I'll tell you.
Hey, Jerry, just a question. Kind of curious. Who's the best actor you ever worked for?
All right, so this is totally subjective because how do you gauge something like that? But in my opinion, Liza Minnelli, without a doubt, was the greatest performer I had ever seen and have ever seen. And this was the early 80s, and I did her then. She was electric. And I did her in the 90s, and I did her in the 2000s, and I did throughout. In fact, the last time I did her was here, and she could barely walk. But I watched it in the show, and she was still, even sitting on a stool, singing New York, New York at the end of her act and kicking her legs while she's sitting down. Still, it's Liza.
She is a consummate performer.
She was great.
She is very amazing.
You know, I got to do Frank Sinatra there again. Where am I going to work? Where I get to stand over in the wings and listen to the band playing these phenomenal charts, and then 20 feet past them, there's Frank Sinatra singing.
And get paid to do it.
Got paid pretty well too.
Yeah. That's what I tell people. I've come up with a couple hundred acts that I've worked with over the years. Some of the best in the world. And I got paid to watch them.
Some of the best, some of the greatest, some of the should be greatest, some of the never will be greatest, some of the should never be on stage.
Yeah, how the hell did you get here?
Right.
We've had a few of those.
Some acts that made the audience scratch their head and go, what? We did at the Riviera one time. They brought in Shields and Yarnell to open for Kenny Rogers. And they must have had the same agent, probably. And Shields and Yarnell, I don't know if you remember, they were a duo, an act then, and they did...
They did mime, and then they
a lot
did
of mime
this,
and
and then they did all kinds of crazy stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and it was so unlike everything else that we were doing. It was pretty cool to watch. Harry Anderson did stand-up back then. Tina Turner opened for Buddy Hackett at the Riviera. It was an otherworldly experience. This was back when she was just starting her comeback after her split with Ike. And they booked her at the Riv to open for Buddy Hackett, for the love of God. Buddy Hackett.
What a complete opposite type of high energy Tina Turner just rocking the place, and Buddy comes out and starts telling jokes.
Well, it was funny. I got to be on the rail for that show because Claire had taken the week off or so. So I was up on the rail, and at the Riviera, the rail was over on stage right, raised about 14 feet, a little stage. And I could see from the pin rail the stage and some of the front row and the tables. And pull the curtain out, ladies and gentlemen, Tina Turner. And this was, like I say, back in the early 80s. So Rod Stewart had, I forget what the album was, but he had a song on one of his albums back then called I Want to Kill My Wife. It was a Rod Stewart song. And so Tina Turner came out, and she was singing it, I Want to Kill Your Wife. And she comes out on stage, and she has this hangman's noose made out of golden braid. And she's waving it around her head like this, and she's, I want to kill you. And it was electrifying, like I say. And I looked down at the audience, and people were visibly shrinking from the stage, going, oh, my God. It was wonderful. And then Buddy Hackett comes out and does his regular shtick. Buddy Hackett, who was a prick, by the way. But funny on stage. He was funny and never did the same show. He had bits. Most comics will do the same bit every night. But he shook it around and be like that. And he did a lot of blue. He was rather profane on stage. And he was just miserable backstage. But a lot of them were. A lot of them were not. A lot of them were very nice. A lot
Yeah.
of them were.
Yeah, I was say we've worked with some of the nicest people on the planet, and we've worked with a couple that you're like, okay, well, I've worked with you once, that was enough.
Well, when you work backstage, you know enough that they're there to do a job. You're here to do a job. They're not there to buddy up with you, and you're not there to buddy up with them. So you should have enough common sense to just do your job and, you know, smile, be polite, and get out of the way. And there were some acts that you would have relationships with and do, and some acts who were just walked by you like you didn't exist and did their stuff and walked on, but they weren't aggressively, I don't want to say, trying to think of the right word without swearing. They didn't go out of their way to be assholes, but they still, and some did, went out of their way to be like that. I won't say any names, Paul Anka, but, well, you rolled your eyes. I saw that.
Yeah, he could be interesting to work with.
Then again, I would look at him and I would go, you know, in a week you'll be gone. I'll still be here. So I'm not riding on your bus. Doesn't matter to me.
Yeah. Yeah, we get to see a little bit more than the crowd out in the audience that paid a few bucks to go see him, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got about 10 minutes left in this episode, and let's just keep talking a little bit about the Riviera. You work with some good guys. Claire Chug, man, what a great guy.
Yeah, Claire
Yeah,
was just a sweet man, and then I would work with his grandkids a few years ago, and that made me feel old.
Well, let's see, what's his Randy Chug? He was
Randy Chug was a great guy.
he was over at, was it Bally's there for a long time? Or
He was at DI.
DI, okay.
He was
I
at the
could
DI.
picture him, but I just could not remember where he was. And he was a good, yeah, like you say, he's a good guy too. And and now the grandkids are in the biz, huh?
Yeah, and they're great stagehands. Yeah. Who else was there? Yeah, Chris Cook. Became close friends with Chris Cook. I miss him. He passed last year, year before.
Yep, great guy.
All those guys are dead now, except not all of them. Ed McDonald is still alive, I think.
No, Ed McDonald's gone.
Get out. Okay.
Yeah, I think he passed about a year ago.
Well, I'm still here.
Yeah. I don't know if Dale Dudley's still around, but
Yeah, I don't know. Barbara's still alive.
yeah, just talked to her. Even Palumbia's Dick is still alive too.
Is that right?
His cancer has gone into a little bit of recession.
I didn't know he had cancer.
Yeah, he had cancer. So I think it was prostate, and it just went everywhere.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was not looking good. He's 91.
So we should say who Dick Palumbi is. Back in those days, every showroom had an orchestra. And at the Riviera, it was the Dick Palumbi Orchestra. He was the conductor. He was the contractor for the musicians. And at the very least, they had a pianist, a drummer, a bassist, and a guitarist. And usually had a horn section with a couple of trumpets, a couple of bones, and maybe 3 reeds. And quite often we had string section, full string section, with a harp, depending on the act. And it was interesting then when the movie Urban Cowboy came out, and there was a lot of country acts that they booked in, and the country acts didn't have charts for orchestras. And the orchestras at the hotel, they got less and less shows. And at that time also, keyboard technology was rising up, synthesizers. So you didn't have a string section, you had a guy playing a DX7,
Yep. Strings off of a keyboard.
band in a box, and they sounded awful, but the audience didn't care. If the audience would have cared, they would have kept the real strings, but nobody cared.
And that is pitiful, you know. I know music is important to you. I know back, you worked in a record shop way back when.
Yeah, in an actual record store where I met my wife. Hello, baby. I worked for her. She was the manager. This was a big record store in Fresno called The Warehouse. It was a chain up and down California. So, yeah.
And that was probably,
Vinyl.
what, around 77, 8, somewhere in there? Or
76, 77, before we came over here. Yeah.
some good stuff came out then. You know, we have some Fleetwood Mac.
It was the law then that you had to have a copy of Rumors. You had to have a copy of Frampton Comes Alive.
That's the other one I was thinking. Frampton, that was another one.
And you had to have a copy of the soundtrack to Saturday Night Fever. And if you didn't have those, they would arrest you and put you in vinyl jail. No, it seemed we sold truckloads of those albums.
Yeah, and amazing, huh? And now they're coming back. People want to hear more and more of them. But they're expensive. Woo!
Oh, yeah. I had a wall full of records my wife and I had amassed. And the last time we moved, which was like 18 years ago now, they were in storage. I didn't even have a turntable anymore. And I had to bite the bullet and go through them and keep the ones I could not bear to part with, and sold all the rest of them at this used record store run by this mercenary guy who paid me a pittance of what they were worth. But what am I going to do? I did not have the heart to sell them online individually and be like, I couldn't do it. I just, all in one swell foop, got rid of them.
Yeah, get the pain over in one time instead of
Pretty much.
1,000 slices. You know.
And now a couple of my grandkids are into vinyl. I wish I had all that stuff again, but I don't. But I'm going to take my youngest grandson for his birthday. I'm going to take him to Zia, let him get what he wants.
What is Zia?
Zia is a used record store
Oh, okay.
here in town. They have
I knew of J-Mar. That used to be one of the ones that were in.
they have a couple of them in Arizona too, I think.
Okay.
It's fun to go. Let him pick out what he wants. He's looking for new stuff. They have new stuff. You can buy new vinyl at Target at these exorbitant prices. I looked at it and I said, look there's a copy of Abbey Road for $28.
Yeah, I was about to say $30, $35 for these things. It's ridiculous.
Oh my God.
But we bought it for, $2. $2.50 or whatever.
When Abbey Road came out, Capitol had raised the prices on that vinyl a little bit, and I thought, how come this one costs more than the other ones? Because they figured out that's capitalism; they can make more.
Yeah,
And they did.
and they did. And I remember the first album that I paid for, it was $2.12.
Oh boy, what was it?
It was Partridge Family.
You sure you don't want to just make something up instead of Partridge Family?
No, I'm going to say I'm about the truth. I thought the group was really cool back then. What was I, 10? So
All right, so
and I remember I went to Kmart and I put it up there. It was $2.12.
$2.12.
Yeah.
You still have it?
No. No, but that was the first album that I had bought, and $2.
And you probably thought that's a lot of money.
It was a lot of money back in '71 too, whatever it was.
Yeah. I remember buying albums for $3.50 and such, and and thinking, I don't care how much it costs. I want this album.
Yep. Well, cool. Well, we're going to end this episode right here, and then we're going to go back to the Riviera when things started changing there.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, 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 dun.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned for more, and we'll be right back in a minute. Until then, Talbot, take it away.
This is The Craig L. Hayes Show.
All right.